Item number 9, ordinances. Ordinance 27-13, an ordinance to establish a comprehensive contracting and purchasing policy and procedures. I need a motion to adopt. Motion by Commissioner Drollet, supported by Commissioner Kleinfeld. If no one else has any discussion, I have one change that was made to it. I believe it's on page 9 of 15, and after having some conversations with the executive's office and others, we moved the $25,000 to $35,000, which is generally was at least the majority of the prior contracting policies numbers. So without objection, that's the only change in that. Okay, move with the changes. Great, thank you. Any other conversation on this? Anybody wishing to speak?
Just an explanation as to it. Are there that many contracts between that range of 25 and 35, or what's the rationale on that?
The rationale is that 35 is actually the number that we used before. The 25 came in, and I probably should have caught that earlier. Underneath our main contracting policy had 35 last time. I don't think we found any real problems with that number being too low or too high, and I missed the 25,000 coming in. We talked with Deputy Executive Delden, brought it to our attention. I should have mentioned it yesterday, but that being said, it seems like 35 is a little bit less onerous when it comes down to, I think there are, when you get under 35, there's more. When you get under 25, there's more. When you get under 10, there's more. I mean, there's no real rhyme or reason to this. This is a number that we picked a couple years ago that has seemed to be a fair number. So there's no number except for trying to keep everything the same. That being said, that's why we went back to 35, and I just generally should have taken care of that yesterday or talked about it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other speakers? I don't know where my list is. Hit the blue button. There we go. Okay, seeing no one? Oh, Andre. I didn't see you on there. I'm sorry.
You know how that goes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I think it's a good idea to boost that to 35, because I questioned the 25 yesterday. At 35, I think we have a little more leeway in all the departments, first of all. And second of all, at 25, I think we'd be micromanaging everything that came in at that number. So I'm happy to see this go to 35, and I support it completely. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, seeing no one else on there, please vote. Would it pass? I didn't see it. Oh, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 11B, ordinances. Ordinance 2017-4, Comprehensive General Appropriations Ordinance. Need a motion to approve, and then we can discuss this. Make a motion by Commissioner Leonetti, supported by Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Yeah, I was hoping to make the motion with changes, but well, if you'll just accept the change, I mean, that'll be fine. It was a clerical error.
Want to discuss them first, and then we'll talk about everything, and then we'll go to it
Okay,
from there.
discuss yours first. Go ahead.
Well, there's whoever would wish to speak on this right now.
Talk amongst
Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a quick question about on page 3, item H. Community mental health seems to have been chopped up and added quite a bit. Can I get some clarification
Yeah,
on that?
you know what? That's a good idea. I'm going to clarify a few of these things first.
Thank you.
So community mental health, it just was not clear on what we were trying to do. The whole premise behind community mental health was that we didn't want to appear to be responsible for any money that was not given to them based on money that was promised to them from any other unit of government. The state promised them $7 million. If they did not give it to them, we were looking to put in there that we were not going to make up that difference. They needed to make it up in their own budget. That being said, it did not account for the fact that we do give a $4 million contribution from the general fund in there. In the original wording made it sound like we don't give anything, and we didn't want to, we weren't planning on giving anything. That being said, the original appropriation of $4 million is still in the budget. This is simply to state that any shortfalls in their budget based due to any other finance entity or financial entity or governmental entity was not going to be picked up by the county.
Thank you. I started to have a panic attack. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
What page is that, Mr. Chair?
3, I believe. 3.
Page 3, item H.
H. Great.
Yeah.
Commissioner Leonetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to clarify on, this would be pages 5 through 6, and it's going to be section 10H. We were able to, from what I understand now, we'll be able to look at some of those items that we were concerned with earlier in the year because we'll have access to that software program on a read-time basis only. Is that correct?
That is what we are requesting in the policy, yes.
Okay. And then just a comment. I want to thank you, Mr. Chair, and I know you've met with Mr. Delden and the Executives Department, and I know you made some
We
changes.
were not in his apartment, by the
You're
way.
here. Yeah. But I want to thank you. I know that you've been working on this, and I know that there was, I know that there was some give and take. I can tell by some of these changes, and so I think generally, as you stated yesterday, this is a good thing, and I'm glad that we were able to reach some compromise. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Drollet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My comments are about the budget in general, and I don't know if we're still discussing the changes, so I'm willing.
You can comment on this generally in the budget, that's fine.
Okay, thank you very much. I just have basically two thoughts on the budget process as a whole, and I hope they're communicated back to the executive. And my thoughts are as such. First, the budget presented to us, according to the documents presented, represents a 2.4% cut in general fund spending. And then you could interpret it different ways depending on the capital outlay projects. It may be as much as a 1.8% increase if those capital outlay projects move forward without any changes by this board. And so I wanted to make sure that I wanted to comment that how much I appreciate a very fiscally responsible budget being delivered to this board. And I think that we can be proud when we go talk to our constituents that we didn't jack up spending. That we are very fiscally constrained, and that the budget that we're approving today essentially represents a below inflation or even direct cut from previous year's budget, which is something I think that our constituents should know. And I think that the executive did a terrific job at putting together, in his team in the finance department, putting together a very responsible budget. I think we also have done a good job enacting some changes moving forward because we want to enhance our ability to ensure that we are doing our jobs in reviewing it. I think that we've taken some steps there. So I think that this board can be proud of the work that we're doing moving forward, and I think that the executive can be very proud of the budget they presented here. So I want to thank them and make sure that they know that. My other comment is moving forward into next year's budget, and I wanted to echo some of the comments of Commissioner Myjack of recently, that I would hope that as our economic situation improves and our property values have been coming back up, and as we start to recover some of that revenue, that we might look at splitting that baby and returning some of that back to the citizens next time. Maybe we could look at half of the increase in spending and half of it in some sort of a tax cut to start rescinding that tax increase that passed during the Great Recession. So my own personal hope would be that moving forward, we can look at splitting the difference with the taxpayers as far as the recovery money. And I just wanted to compliment the executive and the board for the work done in this budget. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. One note before Commissioner Kleinfeld's going to bring up an issue that she found in here. There are some areas in this ordinance that call for charts to be provided. And although Crystal was working diligently, as was the finance department, to get these charts to us, we had them, but there's a little discrepancy on, I think, $7,000 where they can't figure out exactly where that difference is. That will be coming to us in another meeting in December that we can actually amend and just put in the correct ones, but it's a very minimal amount, and I appreciate the finance department working so hard to try to get this for us at the last minute, but yes. Mr. Smeagol, Crystal said that they're still working on it as we speak.
Yeah, new news.
Yes.
Breaking news, so to speak. My staff just found the missing $8,200 and some dollars. So I think if you have them, if you can, quickly.
Okay, so I take back what I said, except for the thanks for the hard work, but we will have the correct charts. So there's another minor change in here that Commissioner Kleinfeld found, and would you please carry on, Commissioner Kleinfeld?
Thank you, Chair. On page 3 of 6 in the chart, item F does not reflect the amendment that passed yesterday. The fifth column over was $13,450. It was not $32,000. And the sixth column is $20,000. It's not $39,400. And that's what passed yesterday. What happened? $13,450 and $20,000. What happened when this chart was created was the numbers on the line item directly above in the budget were inadvertently used. Just following it over, somebody lost track of where they were, which is easy to do with all those lines. So I just wanted that correction to be included.
Do we need to amend our motion to reflect that?
Well, I don't know if we do because it reflects what we actually did pass yesterday. So,
error, and I think the maker of the motion said that he was willing to do that at the time she explained what that clerical error was. So I think we're all set.
thank you.
And great. So just an explanation too to that move. I just want to reiterate what that move was: simply a line item adjustment of money from contract services in the Board of Commissioners over to conferences and training. And that move was $6,550. That wasn't an addition to our budget. That was nothing more than a move of money that we see, a better fit for than the way it was set up before. But there's no addition on that. I just wanted to point that out. Any other commissioners wishing to speak? I don't have anybody on the list. Excuse me? You may.
As well as, it may not be clear to everybody else, but we know up here that there's not a likelihood that that's going to be spent. It was to put it in line with the policy that will be coming. But we do not have anticipation that we're going to go. Generally speaking, we've done very well within that budget, and most commissioners haven't used allotments. So I just didn't want people to think it's because we're blowing through it and we needed more.
Correct.
If I said that wrong, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners wishing to speak on the ordinance? Okay, seeing no one, we'll put it to a vote. Thank you, commissioners. Motion passes 12-0.